water levels. Most of the time, they absolutely suck. Though there are some here and there that are actually pretty fun, most of the time, they're the levels that the closer you get to having to play through them, the more and more you dread your whole existence. And once you get to that notorious, obnoxious dog water of a level, well then you just get through it and deal with it so that you can finally play the fun parts of the game that you're playing. But it's not necessarily that they don't function well. A lot of the time they just take the flow completely out of the game with annoying water physics or have some extremely annoying gimmick that makes you want to scream like Dante.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Sometimes they aren't even water levels per se, but just water sections in a game that really just aren't a fun time at all. Looking at you, Metal Gear Solid 2, what the fuck is this? What the fuck are these controls? What the fuck is this camera angle? What the fuck is this line?
We've managed to avoid drowning.
Generally speaking, I've never really had any issues with swimming in games like GTA because it's almost never a major part of the game. Most of the time it's just an optional thing that simply exists and often functions well enough on its own, but it's when you have whole levels, whole dungeons, whole maps of liquid surrounding your presence that you have to deal with. If there's something good I can say about water levels, then it's the relief you feel after finally getting through it. And the music. The music is pretty much always top tier. But fuck having to clean the dirty teeth of a giant eel with water while you are underwater with water in your backpack device that has water and sprays water underwater. Fuck these terrible water physics. Jesus man, it is so painful. Not to mention all of the surprise spikes and blocks and horrible enemy placements. Oh, and how about when they decided to throw in Labyrinth Zone Act 4 at the last minute? But even that doesn't compare to the big daddy of anything water related in a video game. The Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. If even Eiji Aonuma, the director of the Zelda franchise, apologized for the difficulty and inconvenience of this temple, well then you know that it's not exactly something people enjoyed, to say the least. I mean really, what can I say that hasn't already been said about the Water Temple? It's so bad that there's even a WikiHow guide on how to beat it, and you know you're in trouble if WikiHow goes out of its way to do anything. Fuck the iron boots, fuck changing the water level every 2 seconds, and fuck the layout. I mean, what in the actual hell is this, man? If I'm remembering the trauma correctly, the first time I played through the Water Temple, it literally took me about 3 days to complete.
3 days!
I actually have a friend who once told me that he actually likes the Water Temple, and that it's his favorite temple in the game. At that point, I wasn't sure whether to call the police or an ambulance, but that's his opinion, I guess, and I respect that. And hey, if you like the Water Temple, more power to you. Though whether you like the temple or not, there's absolutely no way that you can objectively tell me that it's well designed. There isn't anything I can think of that's redeeming about it. Everything from constantly having to put the iron boots on and off again, to the keys that one can very easily miss due to the complex structure and overall length of the dungeon. Yeah, nah, I'm good. The background music is pretty nice though. But with that said, there are definitely some water levels out there that are actually pretty nice. They're the type of levels that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I do. Though few and far between if I'm honest, but when they are good, then they really stand out. And in the case of water levels, they tend to stand out a lot. Hydrosity Zone is probably the prime example for me of everything that makes a water level good, at least in the case of platformers. It for the most part manages to retain a nice smooth sense of speed despite the underwater physics with the help of these things and the perks of the Aqua Shield, where it enables you to breathe underwater and bounce on the ground. Of course, yeah, there is the problem of potentially losing the shield and not be able to do any of those things, but it's the fact that the option exists at all for me that makes it worth mentioning. Mario Odyssey makes it very easy to navigate through water by allowing you to absorb the abilities of some of the water life around you, giving you more options in how you can approach the water. You can be a fish, you can be a frog, you can be a squid, and each of them have different characteristics in the way their abilities benefit the way you can approach the water that surrounds you. Anything that gives you more options and more freedom, that doesn't limit itself to a slow, painful process of tedious water physics or questionable gimmicks that hinder the overall pace of the game and prevents one from appreciating a concept that could potentially work if it's done correctly, is a win in my book. It just so happens that a lot of the time throughout the years, water levels in video games have become very notorious for not exactly being fun, to say the least. But what say you? Do you like water levels, or anything water related in video games in general? Are you a masochist like my friend who I mentioned who actually likes the water temple in Ocarina of Time? Or do you hate it like most people who have played through it? Feel free to let me know. Take care.